Hello! Welcome to ResoCoder. In this tutorial, you're going to learn the easiest way to integrate ads into your Unity game. There are two amazing things about Appodeal ads in Unity. There is a good plugin that you can use, and when you integrate Appodeal, you don't have to install anything else regarding ads, because whether you want banner, interstitial, or video ads, obviously including rewarded video ads, Appodeal does it all. First up, you need to go to appodeal.com and sign up. After you sign up and sign in, you will end up in your dashboard. From there, just go to Apps and click on Create App. In this tutorial, we're gonna be dealing with Android apps, although Appodeal works flawlessly with iOS as well. So we're gonna select Android, give it a nickname. Is it a game? Yes, and bundle ID is something like, for example, com.resocoder.tutorial. And then just after you fill these fields as well to your liking, click on Create App. And I'm gonna go back to All Apps because I've already created an app called Appodeal Ads Tutorial. After you add your app, you should sync it with AdMob. The syncing process is really simple, and I'm not gonna cover it in this tutorial. You just need to click on this Sync Needed text, and if you're on Google Chrome, it should work because there is a Chrome extension, although I don't know if Appodeal has Firefox extension or not. Then you want to download the Appodeal plugin for Unity. You can do it by either clicking on the link in the video description, or just from your Appodeal dashboard, go to Docs, select Unity, Android, and now we can skip Wizard and download SDK from here. Now we're gonna open up Unity, switch the platform to Android, although as I've said, Appodeal works with iOS as well. It's just that I'm not gonna cover it in this tutorial. You can switch the platform by going to File, Build Settings, selecting Android and clicking on Switch Platform. Then we wanna install the Appodeal plugin by going to the download directory and clicking on the Unity package. You wanna import everything that is here, so just click on Import. And now, as you can see, we have an Appodeal tab on the top. We're gonna create Android manifest by going to Appodeal, Android, Create Android manifest. Yes. And now the manifest is created. Now, if you do not want your game to require access to approximate location of the player, because some players are sensitive to location permissions, you need to remove the access course location permission from the Android manifest. You can do it by going to Plugins, Android, open up Appodeal Android manifest, and find the access course location permission and delete it. And now, as you can see, another Android manifest was created, and we want to go into this as well, open it up, remove the permission even from here. As you can see, I've already created a simple UI, which is here because I think you can learn much better when you don't have anything distracting you, like for example some code that has nothing to do with ads because it's just handling game logic. So now let's write some code that is actually gonna handle ads. We're gonna create a C# script and call it Ad Manager, open it up in Visual Studio. We're gonna need to be using Appodeal Ads Unity API and also Appodeal Ads Unity Common. Then in the start method, we're gonna create a string variable which is gonna hold the app key that was assigned to our app in the Appodeal dashboard. So string app key equals, and we're gonna go to our dashboard, apps, and copy this application key and paste it inside Visual Studio. Then, because we've removed the location permission, we're gonna call Appodeal disable location permission check. Then we're gonna set testing to true, and you should always do this when you are just testing and not releasing a game. So we're gonna call Appodeal.setTesting to true. Then we wanna initialize the Appodeal plugin by calling Appodeal.initialize. And here we want to supply the app key, so app key, and also ad types that we want to use in our game. In this tutorial, we're gonna be using banner ads, interstitial ads, and rewarded video ads. All the different ad types are specified as constants in the Appodeal class. So we want to write Appodeal.interstitial. Then we want to use bitwise OR operator to combine all the different ad types, not plus but OR, and then Appodeal.banner and also Appodeal.rewarded video. Now we're gonna write a method for showing a banner. So public void show banner, and inside we want to check if a banner is loaded. So if Appodeal.isLoaded, Appodeal.banner, we want to show the banner if it is loaded. So if it is loaded, then Appodeal.show Appodeal. And here we want to specify the location of the banner. We need to tell it that we want to show banner top or banner bottom if you want to. That is it for showing a banner. Now we want to have a method for hiding a banner. So again, public void hide banner, and inside we want to call Appodeal.hide, and we need to specify an ad type again. And here we do not need to specify the exact location of a banner, we just need to tell it that we want to hide a banner. So Appodeal.banner. We also want to be showing interstitial ads, so public void show interstitial. And normally inside your game, you wouldn't want to show the interstitial each time that the player dies, for example. You want to show it only every 5th time that the player dies. In this tutorial, we're just gonna be pressing a button to show the interstitial, but what I'm about to show you can be easily incorporated even in a normal game. I did it like this, for example, in my game Byte Away, which you can check out in the link in the video description. So we need to create some kind of a counter variable, which is gonna be of type int, and it's gonna hold how many times we've already tried to show the interstitial. And only each 5th time that we want to show an interstitial, it's actually gonna get shown. So up here, above all the methods, we're gonna create a simple field. It's gonna be private, and we're gonna call it times tried to show interstitial. And it's gonna be equal to 0 by default. Then in our show interstitial method, we want to increment our counter, so times tried to show interstitial plus plus, and now we want to check if an interstitial is loaded, and also if we've tried to show interstitial at least 5 times. So if Appodeal.isLoaded, specify Appodeal.interstitial, and also if we try to show the interstitial at least 5 times. So times try to show the interstitial is greater or equal to 5. Not 7, not 4, 5. I can type, I promise. Inside the if statement, we want to simply show an interstitial. So Appodeal show Appodeal.interstitial. And we also want to reset our counter times tried to show interstitial to 0, because we've actually shown it and the counting starts again. So times tried to show interstitial equals 0. Now we also want to show rewarded video. So public void show rewarded, and inside we want to check if it is loaded. So if Appodeal.isLoaded, Appodeal.rewarded video, And if it is loaded, we want to show it. So Appodeal.show Appodeal.rewarded video. We obviously want the rewarded video ad to give the player something in return for watching it. In this tutorial, we're gonna use simple manager script containing a simple property which is gonna contain the current amount of coins the player has. If you want to learn how to deal with virtual currency and how to make a fully fledged virtual currency shop, you should definitely watch my previous tutorial displayed on the screen right now. So we're gonna create another script and call it manager script. Open it. We're also gonna need to be using unityengine.ui. We're gonna need to keep a reference to our coins text, which is here inside our canvas. So public text, coins text. Then we wanna create a property which is gonna hold the information about our coins. But first up, we wanna create a backing field for that property. The backing field is gonna be private int coins with non-capital C, and the property is gonna be public int coins with capital C, and it's gonna have a getter and also a setter. In the getter, we're just gonna return coins with non-capital C, which is our backing field here. And in the setter, we want to set our backing field coins with non-capital C to be equal to the value that was just passed into the setter, so coins equals value. And we also want to update our coins text, so coins text dot text equals coins dot toString. We cannot make the coins property static because we have to access the coins text here, which isn't static, because we're setting it from the Unity editor. Now it's a good time to create a manager game object in our scene here. So create empty and just name it manager. And inside this manager game object, we're gonna drag add manager and also manager script. And as I've said, we're gonna set the coins text field here from within the Unity editor. So just drag it on here and it's set. And now, because we're setting the coins text from within the Unity editor, this coins property cannot be static because it's actually using this coins text, which is not static. That means whenever we want to do something with coins property from another script, like for example, we want to increment it when the player has watched an rewarded video ad, we have to access it from an instance of a manager script. The perfect way to do this is by creating a singleton instance. And yes, I know that this can be really confusing for beginner programmers, and I didn't get it immediately as well, but bear with me here. So we're gonna create a public static manager script instance, and this is gonna be a property with public get and only private set. And because this property is static, it's actually tied to the manager script and not to an instance of a manager script. So we can call it like this, just manager script dot instance, right? And this is really important. Inside this static instance, we actually want to store only the first instance of the manager script that was ever created in our game session, and all the other instances of manager script that would be created later are gonna get destroyed. We're gonna add an awake method because awake method is always called before the start method, and inside this awake method we wanna set up our singleton instance. So if instance equals null, and what this means is that if our static instance doesn't contain anything inside it, which means that this awake method is running for the first time. So if this is true, we want to set the instance, the static instance, to this particular instance. So instance equals this. And we also want to specify that we do not want to destroy a game object that this script, manager script, is currently sitting on, which in this case is this manager object, manager game object here. As you can see, manager script is sitting inside this manager game object. So we want to specify that we do not want to destroy, unload that manager game object. So don't destroy, unload, and game object, which says this game object means the game object that this script is currently sitting on. And this is really not necessary for this tutorial. It's just something that you would have to do inside your game if you would want to implement some kind of a persistent manager game object, because you're gonna be loading scenes. There is just no way that inside a game you're just gonna have one scene. Most of the time you have at least two scenes, a menu and a game scene. If instance is already equal to something, and that something is the first ever instance of manager script that was ever created when we first ran this awake method. So basically, if the awake method is running for not the first time, but for example for the second and for the third time, so else we want to destroy the game object that this script is currently sitting on. So that way we aren't gonna have multiple duplicate manager game objects. And as I've already said, while making a singleton instance of manager script is not necessary for this tutorial, like hey, we don't even have multiple scenes to switch between, in a real world project you're probably gonna have multiple scenes and you're probably gonna want to switch between them and have some kind of manager game object, which is gonna persist even when switching scenes. If you don't understand what's going on in that awake method at all, I get you, and do not worry, because I'm gonna create a tutorial about singletons in Unity, so subscribe if you do not want to miss it. Now, after we have the manager script done, we can go back to Add Manager and give the player coins in return for watching a rewarded ad. We need to know when the player watched a rewarded ad. That means we need to have a callback method that the Appodeal plugin is gonna call for us. Creating callback methods for Appodeal plugin means implementing an interface, and that interface is called iRewardedVideoAdListener. And an interface can be implemented by putting a comma after this monoBehavior base class that almost every class in Unity must derive from. So comma and iRewardedVideoAdListener. This is an interface. When a class implements an interface, client code, and client code means, for example, also this code, client code is just calling some methods or properties which are located inside a class. So client code accessing a class which implements an interface can be 100% sure that it has all the methods that the interface tells the class to have. Otherwise, the class doesn't even want to compile. As you can see here, for example, we have many errors because the compiler expects that we are gonna implement the methods specified by this iRewardedVideoAdListener interface. So let's implement those methods. And those methods names are as follows: public void onRewardedVideoLoaded, and bear in mind that this Appodeal plugin is not really going by the standards that the C# uses for naming. For example, methods in C# should be named with a capital letter. However, these methods are not. Then public void onRewardedVideo failed to load, onRewardedVideo shown, onRewardedVideo closed, and this is the method that we are actually interested in, public void onRewardedVideo finished. This method is gonna accept two arguments of type int and string, and inside of this method we're gonna call managerScript.instance, which is the singleton instance that we've just set up. And from this instance we wanna get the instance property coins, and we wanna increment it. There is one thing we need to do, and that is to tell the Appodeal plugin which class has all the callback methods for rewarded video ads. We can do this in the start method by calling a method on the Appodeal class, so Appodeal.set rewarded video callbacks, and inside this method we need to pass iRewarded video ad listener, and because our class ad manager here implements this interface, it can also be treated as an iRewarded video ad listener. So we can pass this particular instance of this class to the setRewarded video callbacks method. Now all we need to do is just to connect the UI to our ad manager methods. So for example, banner show button is gonna get connected to game object manager, script ad manager, and show banner. And yeah, that's done. Let's build an APK and test if everything works on an emulator. But before, be sure to change the bundle identifier in the player settings to match the one you've set in the Appodeal dashboard, like this, by going to File, Build Settings, Player Settings, going to Other Settings, and setting this bundle identifier to whatever you've specified inside your Appodeal dashboard. If you're releasing on Google Play, you should also set the key store, but I'm not gonna go into that in this tutorial. So now, without further ado, let's build an APK and save it. And we just got an error message. If this happens, you just need to right-click somewhere and go to Google Play Services and resolve client jars. And resolution complete. Now we can build the APK again and hope that this time it's not gonna show us an error message. So build and save. And this time it actually worked. So now let's test this APK inside an emulator. And the emulator that I am using is called Nox, and you can download it from the link in the video description. And here it is. So we can show banner, and it works. This is just a test banner, obviously. And we can also try to hide the banner ad, and that works as well. Now we can show an interstitial, but it's not gonna show right away. We have to click it 5 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And the interstitial gets shown, which is awesome. And now in theory, it should have just reset the counter. So now when we click 5 more times, it should get shown again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And yes, it does get shown again. Amazing. Now we can test the rewarded video ad and look at this text. It says that we have 0 coins. And when we click on the rewarded button and watch a rewarded ad, and this looks a bit weird, but you have to keep in mind that this is just an emulator. So I'm just gonna click on the X here. And as you can see, we have 1 coin now. If you wanna learn how to make a fully fledged virtual currency shop and how to deal with virtual currency, you should check out my tutorial on virtual currency shop in Unity. You can get the code that was written in this tutorial on resocoder.com or just by simply clicking on the link in the description. I hope this video helped you. If it did, give it a like and also share it. Subscribe to this channel to get notified about new tutorials. And if you wanna be sure to get notified, hit the bell button. Also, don't forget to follow me on social media and see you in the next video.